let's try this. Okay, cool. Audio is working now. Sorry, apologize for that. This is the Nerdy Entrepreneur, Lauren here, and I'm giving you the House of the Dragon review. Apologize for the audio issues earlier on this live stream. Was not foreseeing that to happen. Usually we have a nice smooth audio transition. This time one of them times though, so I apologize for that. Okay, no. Remember, I've told you at the beginning of me doing this for this show that I have read the books. I am familiar with the extra written materials, and particularly this story or the Civil War. This one, I'm very, very much knowledgeable of a lot of things that go down. And so one of the real kickoff points is two particular deaths. There's the deaths of the series, and then the next real death that takes the biggest effect is one of, spoiler alert, of Lucerys, or Lucerys, yeah, who dies, right? And that is one of her sons that she had by Sir Strong. You know, supposedly Sir Laenor's son, but we know it's Sir Strong's kid, right? And that is really the death that really kicks things off. And that's why they decided to stop this season. So I'm like, oh, because anybody who's familiar with this story knows that when this kid winds up getting killed, particularly the manner in which he gets killed, that's what really, the brakes that were on war come off. And in this episode, you see, what's the name, Rhaenyra having a miscarriage. She gets news of her father dying. She also gets news that Aegon, her younger brother, has been crowned king in front of everybody. And she's just trying to shore everything up. It's a whole lot of mess. But typically, she is not the person who is trying to jump into war straight away first. That's not who she is. That's not who... that's not what she's trying to do. Okay, just to make it clear. And so you see all this hesitancy in this episode when they're like, hey, well, you're going to do something. And at the time, she's trying to figure out what she's going to do. The other team is doing whatever they want to do. So what you get is very heavy. Like last episode was very focused on what was happening in King's Landing and how they were handling the succession. And here, this is a very Dragonstone, Princess, now Queen Rhaenyra episode with all the other players that escaped and have come to, either pledge to her or warn her about what's going on. And it's about, hey, what are you going to do? What's the next thing? And Rhaenyra is not looking forward to war. She's not looking to, dump things into war or anything like that. So you get her struggling with, what's she going to do? Now in the background, our man Corlys is back. Because remember, he ran off to go fight and got really seriously sick, and they thought he was going to die. But he's back in this episode. He's sick, but he's back in this episode. That's something to see. And of course, him and Rhaenys, Princess Rhaenys, have a intimate conversation. And there's a whole lot of, you were right, we're gonna do this. She's looking at him like, dude, it's too late now. You don't already set this shit. Shit has happened. It's already kind of too late for certain things to go down, and can't argue about that. There's a lot of stuff that go down here. So that goes down. We have, of course, homeboy Mr. Otto Hightower, the one who is the architect of a lot of stuff that happens in this entire series, shows up to hand terms over to Rhaenyra for her. Hey, just come to King's Landing and your kids will be safe, and this one will get Driftmark and this one will get that, and we don't have a war, but you just got to say that, yeah, Aegon is the rightful king and all that other stuff. And of course, she's considering those terms. There's a whole lot of shit going on. Just say that. There's a whole lot of extra shit going on. And while all this is going on in the episode, you get a lot of back and forth with different characters, and you see how this is about to play out. The titular death that happens towards the end of this episode, which is one of her kids getting killed while trying to deliver a message to the Arryns, and not knowing that her other brother has already intercepted, and he winds up getting killed in the end. That's really the death that that's the straw that breaks the camel's back. And so when we get the next season, it will be all out war the next season. A lot of characters, there was a rule of Game of Thrones like, hey, don't fall in love with your characters because they probably gonna die on you. This is one of those things where you don't want to fall in love with no characters because they probably gonna die on you. And because I know how this all ends, and the funny thing about this episode, because I know this prior information, when people started talking about what they were going to do, what part they specifically were going to play, I already knew that, oh, you just set yourself up for getting killed here, here, or here. And that's because I know the ending, because, the ending is out there. It's not for those of us who are some of the book readers and we read the extra material, we know who dies and where they die. So when they started setting people up, I'm like, oh, that's what we're about to see next season. So a lot of that's coming up. So yeah, it was a nice episode. We were waiting for the Reckoning episode because we saw the last episode, which was a lot of, all the craziness they were doing, all the scheming and plotting when a monarch dies, to what happens when people hesitate to take action quickly. For whatever their reasons are. We see Daemon get a little violent. I won't speak much more on that. We see people trying to figure out where they're going to stand on this conflict and what's the safe place to be in this conflict. And you get a lot of that. You got a lot of that happening. So it's a nice setup episode for next season. So if you're looking for a conclusion, it's not a conclusion. They got season 2. This was a setup for what's going to happen in the next season. We're going to see a lot of death and all that stuff come. Well, a lot more death than anything else. So if you're waiting up, this is a setup episode for me. So you don't have a lot of flashy things that happen. What you get is, the most important part of this is really the death at the end that really happens, because that's what kicks everything off. You see Rhaenyra change in that moment when she is told. And that is going to be very important, because I don't know if I want to... the information has been out there for years, and I kind of want to say it just to give you some context. I like to see arcs and stuff like that in stories. But let's just say at the end of the Dance of Dragons, there are far fewer dragons than there were before. This is the Civil War that pretty much takes out most of the dragons. Very few. You also get a lot less Targaryens. You can see why it's not that many of them, and a whole lot of other folks that wind up getting dusted in this conflict. But you also get people who start to regret their actions towards the end when it's all said and done, when eventually this conflict starts to wrap itself up. And it takes years, to tell you the truth. It takes quite a few years. It's a civil war that goes on for a number of years. So there will be some more time skips here and there, I assume. But there's a lot of death between characters, and it'll be interesting to see where they decide to end the series. If they're going to end it with with who I think they should end it with, it's going to be very interesting. But there's no telling. I know George R. R. Martin has said that he thinks this needs 4 seasons to wrap this story up. I disagreed. I said, okay, 3 seasons would make sense, because depending on where they ended this season, the kickoff until the next season, I think this series can do a solid 2 seasons. I wasn't sure if this series can do a solid 3 seasons, though, because it really just depends on how much they decide to cut things out. And I'm not a writer on the team, so I don't know. But it was a good looking episode. You see the beginnings of the chaos. You had the red count. This is, the previous episode was called the Green Council. This is, and now we're going to see what's going to happen here with the makings of her council and how they're going to approach things and everything else. And see, because I know what happens in the end, I just saw all the setup for what is to happen in history. So it was a solid ending episode to end to kick it off. you see Damon being Damon. You see the kids, trying to adjust. Particularly, Lucerys is trying to prove that he could be an heir and all this responsibility. He's trying to prove something to his mother, and that's what he's trying to do. And you just see the difference in parenting between the two women. But don't get me wrong, Alicent loves her children. She does love her children. But in the end, love is not enough. And we know she loves, because she's done some things to protect her children that potentially, she shouldn't have done. But, it is what it is with that point. But it was a very interesting episode. Really, I look forward to the next season. This has been a very entertaining 10 weeks straight of being able to watch the episode and then jump on here and do a quick live with you guys. It has been a pleasure. Sorry for the audio up front. So, that was fun. There was a bunch of shows that came out. I was thinking about doing some reaction to it, but this is the one I was like, yeah, I'm going to absolutely do it and be committed to doing it. And I'm glad I chose this. And I'm looking forward to the next season, which hopefully will come out next year around the same time. And then we'll be able to do this straight 10 episode review again. So what is the next series if we do it? Because this is the Nerdy Entrepreneur channel, and also this also will be on another channel as well. Like, you're supposed to talk about entrepreneurship. I do. Most of the videos here are about entrepreneurship, but this is just something fun to break it up because I am the Nerdy Entrepreneur. Probably will be the Dragon Prince, which is coming out not next week, but the week after next. I will see that just comes all 8 episodes or 9 episodes comes out at one time. So I'll be watching that the week after next. And I probably will do a series on that eventually, but it won't be week to week because it dumps like that. So who knows? I don't know. I think if I'm going to do a series, that's going to be the next one to do. Because I do enjoy, for the most part, most of the things that happen in that show. Not all the things that happen in that show. So we shall see how that pans out. I don't think there's any other fantasy series or anything else because Mandalorian's not on until next year or anything else that I'm going to be watching week to week that's coming up. So if you have any suggestions, please put it down in the comments. Other than that, you will see some more videos from me talking about some entrepreneurship stuff, how to make money doing things like doing copywriting and getting clients. And I'll talk about more of that stuff on this channel, as well as eventually more stuff on cleaning businesses and such of the, all those kind of wonderful things. So being as it may, I hope you've enjoyed this series. I've enjoyed, coming every week and being able to just, rap about it because I think it's the funnest series to watch. I hope that you enjoy it too. I hope you decide to like and subscribe to this channel because I have a lot more stuff coming up. This is layoff season for a lot of people, but I have some things coming out for all you folks who've commented and asked me about, if it wasn't about the episode, it was comment on another video about some business stuff. So I will be responding to those or getting back to those. Until next time, probably next time I do a live will probably be on the Dragon Prince, will be in a couple weeks. So you get a nice week off of not seeing me and being here, but I appreciate you. Make sure to like and follow the channel. I'll see you guys later.